I never thought I'd be writing one of these posts, but here I am, sitting in a hotel room at 3 a.m., staring at the ceiling and wondering where my life went so wrong. Rachel and I met in college. She was studying graphic design, and I was finishing my degree in engineering. We clicked instantly. She was gorgeous, funny, and seemed to genuinely love me in a way no one else ever had. We dated for 3 years before I proposed, and we were married a year later. The wedding was perfect. Everyone said so. My younger brother Jake was my best man. He gave a touching speech about how lucky Rachel was to have found me, and how he hoped to find a love like ours someday. For 15 years, I thought we had a good marriage. Not perfect, what marriage is, but solid. We bought a house in the suburbs, built our careers, and decided not to have kids. We traveled, hosted dinner parties, spent holidays with our families. Rachel and Jake always got along well, which I appreciated. He'd come over for Sunday football, help us with home renovations, and join us on the occasional vacation. He never settled down, always dating but never committing. Waiting for someone like Rachel, he'd joke, and I'd laugh because it seemed so innocent. Last Monday, everything changed. I was cleaning out our garage when I found a box of Rachel's old design supplies. Thinking she might want to keep some of it, I brought it inside to sort through. At the bottom, wrapped in an old t-shirt, was a phone I'd never seen before. Not an ancient flip phone or a backup. This was a relatively new smartphone in a plain black case. Curiosity got the better of me. The phone was off, but it still had some battery when I plugged it in. No passcode. I told myself I was just checking to see whose it was. Maybe a client had left it behind or something. The home screen was bare except for the basic apps and messages. The first conversation that appeared was with a contact saved simply as J. My stomach dropped before I even started reading. Somehow I already knew. The most recent text was from 3 days ago. Miss you. Can't wait until Friday when he's gone. From J. Me too. 15 years, and it still feels like the first time. My hands shook as I scrolled up, then further up, message after message, years of conversations. Explicit photos, meeting arrangements, inside jokes, complaints about me, plans made around my business trips. I kept scrolling back, feeling increasingly sick, until I reached messages from 15 years ago, the day after our wedding. J. Last night was worth the wait. Rachel. I feel terrible, but I can't stop thinking about it. Or you. J. We'll figure it out. I'm not giving you up now. Jake. My brother. And Rachel. Since the night of our wedding, I must have sat there for hours, reading through 15 years of betrayal, documented in painful detail on this secret phone. There were thousands of messages. They'd been careful, methodical, and completely ruthless in their deception. I didn't confront Rachel that night. I couldn't. Instead, I copied everything from the phone, screenshots of messages, saved the photos, everything. Then I put it back exactly where I'd found it, wrapped in that old t-shirt at the bottom of the box. I needed time to think, to process. The next morning, I told Rachel I needed to go on an emergency business trip. She bought it without question, even kissed me goodbye. Drive safe, she said, and I wondered how many times she'd said those words while anticipating my absence as an opportunity. I checked into this hotel and have been here for the past 3 days. Rachel thinks I'm 3 states away. In reality, I'm 15 minutes from our house, watching their messages continue in real time. They're meeting tomorrow, Friday, at our house. In our bed, the rage I feel is something primal, something I've never experienced before. But beneath it is a hollow ache, a sense of profound loss. Not just of my wife, but of my brother, the 2 people I trusted most in this world. I've reread some of their earliest messages a dozen times. They met secretly 2 months before our wedding. Jake had come to help with some last-minute arrangements, and Rachel was stressed about the centerpieces. One thing led to another. They swore it would be a one-time mistake. Then they slept together again on our wedding night, while I was passed out drunk from celebration. And then it just continued. There were a few close calls over the years. Once, 4 years ago, I came home early from a conference and nearly caught them. Another time, Rachel accidentally sent Jake a message that was meant for me, but played it off as a joke. They laughed about these moments in their texts, how they'd managed to fool me. I can see the pattern now, how Jake would start dating someone new, and there would be a lull in messages. Then the relationship would mysteriously end, and the affair would resume. Rachel would occasionally express guilt, especially around our anniversaries, but Jake always pulled her back in. We're meant to be together, he told her repeatedly. It was just bad timing. He got to you first. I called my boss yesterday and requested extended leave. Family emergency, I said. Not exactly a lie. Then I contacted a lawyer. I've been sending her everything, bank statements, property information, the evidence of the affair. She thinks I have a solid case for a favorable divorce settlement, given the circumstances. Tomorrow, when they meet at our house, I'll be watching from the street. I've set up cameras in our bedroom and living room, not to catch them in the act. I couldn't stomach that, but to have irrefutable proof. Once I have that, I'm going to confront them both. Part of me wants to lash out, to hurt them like they've hurt me, to expose them to everyone we know, to make sure our entire family, all our friends, know exactly what kind of people they are. But another part of me just feels tired. So incredibly tired. 15 years. My entire 30s gone. Given to a marriage that was a lie from day one. Friday came. I parked down the street in a rental car with tinted windows. Jake's BMW pulled into our driveway at 11:42 a.m. Rachel greeted him at the door wearing the blue dress I'd bought her for our anniversary last year. They kissed in the doorway before going inside. I watched the camera feed on my phone, my stomach churning as they moved through our home with the familiarity of longtime lovers. They poured wine from a bottle I'd been saving for a special occasion and toasted to another year. Then they headed upstairs. I couldn't watch anymore. I shut off the feed and sat in the car, hands gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. The cameras would capture everything I needed. I gave them an hour before I drove home. When I walked in, they were in the kitchen, fully dressed, eating lunch like it was the most normal thing in the world. Jake was at my place at the table. The shock on their faces would have been comical under different circumstances. "You're supposed to be in Chicago," Rachel said, her voice barely above a whisper. "And you're supposed to be my wife," I replied, my voice surprisingly steady. "And you're supposed to be my brother." Jake stood up. "Look, man, I can explain. 15 years, I cut him off. Since the day we got married. I know everything." Rachel turned pale. "What are you talking about?" I tossed the phone onto the table between them. "Found this in the garage. You should really use a passcode." The silence that followed was deafening. Rachel started crying. Those practiced tears I now recognized as manipulation. Jake tried to approach me, but I held up my hand. "Don't. Just don't. We never meant to hurt you," Rachel sobbed. "That's the thing about 15-year affairs," I said. "They tend to hurt people." I told them about the lawyer, about the evidence. I explained that Rachel would be receiving divorce papers by Monday, and that I wanted her out of the house by the end of the weekend. I informed Jake that I'd already told our parents everything, showing them select messages that proved the timeline without the explicit details. "You've lost everyone," I told him. "Not just me." Rachel begged for another chance. Jake alternated between apologies and justifications. They had fallen in love. They hadn't planned this. They had tried to end it multiple times but couldn't. I listened to it all with a strange detachment, as if hearing a story about someone else's life. When they finally ran out of words, I simply asked them to leave. Jake hesitated, then placed his key to our house on the counter. Rachel tried to touch my arm, but I stepped back. 15 years, I said again. I can't give you another second. After they left, I changed the locks, poured myself a whiskey, and sat in my empty living room. The grief hit me then, not just for the marriage I thought I had, but for the brother I'd loved my entire life. Both gone in an instant, though in truth, I suppose I'd never really had either of them. It's been 3 weeks since that day. Rachel is staying with her sister. Jake has apparently moved out of state. The divorce is proceeding. Friends have rallied around me, though some mutual ones have disappeared, unable to choose sides, or perhaps secretly having known all along. I'm selling the house. Too many memories. Starting over at 45 wasn't in my plans, but here we are. Some days I'm angry, some days I'm numb. But there are moments, brief flashes, where I feel something like relief. Like I've been carrying a weight I didn't know existed, and now it's gone. Yesterday, I deleted all the evidence from my phone. Not for them, but for me. I don't need to keep looking back at what was never real. Tomorrow, I'm meeting with a realtor. Next week, I'm considering a job offer in Seattle, about as far from here as I can get without leaving the country. 15 years were taken from me. I won't give them another day.